Please make sure to hit that. Please make sure to hit that translation button, and we are recording. So there you go. So today is our DPAC meeting, and it's December 1st, 2021. Goodness, jumping ahead of myself a little bit. We're really happy that you can join us. And for those of you that are able to watch things at home, we're happy that you're going to be able to view this stuff later on. Again, this is your DPAC team. So my name is Sunny Tamriker. I'm the president of DPAC. We have Jessica Contreras, our VP, and Mindy Thomas, our secretary. I think Jessica's a little bit under the weather today, so she's not joining us. But I'm glad to have Mindy here as backup. Again, I'll try to do my best to kind of catch things in the chat. But if I miss something, please let me know. So that way I can let you guys, I can make sure that your voice is being heard. So today, I would like to kind of make sure that we all get to know each other a little bit. I am going to be giving a kind of minor COVID update. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to see each other soon. So I'm going to try to go over that in just a little bit. But one of the big things that that I feel like we've lost with this digital format is the fact that we do not get to know each other. We don't get to mingle beforehand like we used to, and we don't get to mingle after like we used to. So just so you all know, I'm going to give you my email address at any moment. You can, I put it in the chat there. Feel free to email me. And if you've got questions, if you want to do more, if you want to know more, I'm so happy to be able to be a resource. And I know that all of the staff here, and I guess not here and not here at the district office really wants parents to be involved. It is one of our big goals for our district is to have increased parent and student involvement. I think that's goal number 3, but don't quote me on it. And again, I would like to start off the day, if you feel like just putting something in the chat about who you are and you're the school that your children attend and their grades and what else do you want to see this year? I feel like that's really important. And I'll start off so nobody has to feel ashamed or worried. So again, I'm Sunny Tamriker. I have 2 children, which you can probably hear. Neva and Sitara, they are in 1st grade and 3rd grade, respectively. No, not respectively. And the big thing that I would like to see this year that we haven't gotten yet is I would like for us to have things in person again. I don't have to be in a room. I'd be happy to be cold outside with a camera on me so we can still do this digitally, virtually, but that I would rather do that so that we can connect more. It is something that I feel like we've lost over the past year, 2 years. And for PTA, for the kids being able to go on field trips or to go on to have assemblies, to be able to mingle potentially more, but would all be great. But it would be really great if parents could get back into schools. So that is my big thing, and I am it's what I really would like to see, and I hope and I feel like that the numbers support that. So we'll get into kind of a COVID update in a little bit, but I want to hear from you guys. So anyone want to unmute and say anything, or if you want to put it in the chat, that's fine too.
I will go ahead and share. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Rivera. I am the new medical outreach specialist here for our school district. And what I am looking forward to for this year, I just want to continue to foster the relationship with our parents and continue to work with our parents, our community liaison, so we can further strengthen Family U. And just like Sunny was mentioning, get back to a place where we can be in person and continue to provide these wonderful opportunities to our families, and just rebuild. There's been so many changes these last 18 months, and we've learned so much in this time, and using all that information to make our parent engagement platform stronger.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. And congratulations. I did not know that you're the new Claudia.
Thank you.
So you are the new Jocelyn. So anyway, congratulations. It's a big job, and we're super happy that you're able to do it. And then I see Isabel put something in the chat. She had her hand raised. I wasn't sure if she wanted to speak or not, but I will read her comments. I agree. I miss seeing and getting to know parents. I especially miss going to my child's classroom and seeing what they are working on. I completely 100% agree. I have been dying to volunteer in the classroom for forever. And so again, I'm gonna give you guys a quick COVID update. And I think that, we'll definitely get into it today. So I'm looking forward to it. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Tell me what they want.
Can go ahead. So my name is Mailet, and I have a student, a third grader in Anderson Elementary, and I couldn't agree more with you. I would like to see us going back in person, regardless of the place. If it is outdoors, welcome, and if it is a smaller crowd, that's fine. But I would like to see us again engaging and being part of our students' journey. They're also volunteering, and not necessarily in the classroom, but being part in school activities. And also bring back the workshops from Family U. So that's what I'm looking forward, and I can't wait to see that happening, hopefully this year.
Thank you so much, Milet. We really appreciate your input. And what you might all not know, but she is the president of Dlac. So again, thank you for all of your efforts this year. We really appreciate it. I think, Jocelyn, if you could help me with that translation, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes, we have one parent, Miss Judith Barrera, included in the chat, that what she is looking forward to is being able to have parents volunteer at the schools again. And so that's something that she would like to look forward to in the near future.
There we go. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then I have another person in the chat here, and I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. I have a tendency to do this. I think it's Jenna. My daughter is in the first grade special day program at Billy Mitchell. Looking forward to seeing more of an inclusive relationship with special education and general education families. I would love to engage in the school programs and activities. I can't wait. I mean, I think one of the things that is been a real struggle, I think in general, is that the children, I think across the schools. I know at least at Smith. They have assigned seating. They have assigned seating in the classroom. They have assigned seating in out there, and it all helps to make sure that the case rates stay down. But I think it's really important for all of them to also be able to connect with each other. So thank you very much. All right, I'm going to move on because we have hopefully a packed schedule for today. Anyone else that wants to introduce themselves or say anything else about what they want to see this school year, please feel free to put it in the chat, and at least it'll be out there for everyone to see. So our plan for today is going to be a quick COVID update. I wanted to do a follow-up on school site council, and I asked Dr. Jolie King, our director of special projects and the person that makes all of this possible, to kind of go over Title I budgets, which is part of our job as a group in DPAC. And I will, again, we can kind of dig in a little bit. And if I'm lucky, and if there's time, I'd like to also show you guys a little bit of the LCAP, which is another big piece of what we do, so that we can make a bigger impact and a bigger difference in making our voices heard. So, regarding this COVID update, so I messaged Dr. Rutia, who is our director of risk and communication.
Safety.
And the risk and safety and communication. I don't know. It's a very long title now. Everything gets added on. Soon it'll be the director of risk and safety communication and everything else. So I messaged with him hoping that we might have a possible change in January. So for those of you that don't know, I think a lot of the agreements with different things and part of the board policy and then the district policy all comes out of recommendations from the Los Angeles County Department of Health, LACDPH. I don't know. There's a lot of letters, and that they're really still wanting to limit visitors on campus. So like essential volunteers, so people that need to be there to volunteer, are allowed. So this would include the social work interns that do social emotional health. That would include maybe like student teachers that are assisting in the classroom. But in general, us normal folks just want to go and help, aren't allowed on campus. You're allowed on campus again for, you've got to go pick up your kid, you're gonna have a meeting about XYZ thing, absolutely. But in general, they're trying to still limit contact. And so we have no protocols changing, at least till the end of December. There's nothing that's going to change. And I imagine there would be a huge announcement if that were true. There are a few factors that are going to affect what's going to happen in January. So we are waiting on the Department of Health to give us recommendations, right? To give the district kind of new guidelines. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you a couple things. The vaccines were approved for 5 and up. My kids are fully vaccinated as of Friday. So in 2 weeks, they will be like fully cured. And cured's not the right word. They'll be fully marinated, and they'll be then fully protected. And so they had really mild, like some arm soreness. So if anyone is a little bit concerned about it, it was not a big deal. They weathered it way better than my wife and I. So you can totally do that. there is this news about this potential new variant, this Omicron thing. Again, that's going to affect whether or not we're allowed back on campus, whether we're allowed to be able to do bigger events. And there is also this potential, this kind of uptick in terms of a winter surge. That being said, let me see if I can exit out of this. That being said, I did want to show you guys a couple things. On the public health, LA County Public Health website, we have our positivity rates and our cases, and this is all available online. And if you look at the daily average, oh dear, that's not the one I wanted to click. It's at 1.2, I don't have it, 1.22%, which is really low. And if we were to look at, there's an LA Times one that is not in the place that I wanted it to be. I don't know. Can you guys see that? There we go. Here we go. So if you look at our case rate, and this is December, right around December last year, and it was not great. And this is kind of where we are now. We definitely have had, I think this is no, that's not the one I wanted to see. I wanted to see the current one for today, but I can't seem to get that to show up. Things are considerably better across the state, across the country, and I think that there are fears of a winter surge, but things are better, and that if everyone kind of does their part to avoid this winter surge, so let me pull this back up. There is a possibility, I got no guarantees from anyone, unfortunately, but there's a possibility that we can have a lot of these things that I think we really wanted, that we really want. And so I will encourage everyone to do your part to help avoid this winter surge, so that that our students, our kids, can have more things. We can do more things. I think that it's all possible. I think there are some things like field trips that I think are going to be rather difficult to have happen. But for assemblies or possibly volunteering in the classroom, it seemed possible. Dr. Rutia did also mention that if volunteers were allowed on campus, that the governor's vaccination and test mandate would apply. And so anyone that wanted to volunteer, they would have to be fully vaccinated, or I think do some sort of testing in order to be able to be on campus. And so there's just another reason, if you want to volunteer, there's another reason to get vaccinated. So again, it's the exact quote I got from him was, "I am hoping that the next few weeks will go well and we'll avoid a winter surge. If so, we may see some relaxing of protocols in schools." That's a direct quote from an email that I received from him. So just like that seems about as hopeful as possible. And I really encourage you all to do your part. So thank you so much. Let me move on. I'm sorry, actually, did anyone have any questions before I move on? Because I should do that. See if there's any in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so moving on, school site council. I wanted to do a follow-up and make sure that you guys knew where your school site council plans were. So for those of you that remember that school site councils, they give input on the title, like they monitor the Title I funds. A bunch of the schools had meetings, I think in November. I know Smith did. And at Smith, we approved additional money there happened to be extra money. Yay. We spent some of the extra money on Lego kits so that the students could have could do, I don't know, they're not like regular Lego kits. They're some sort of science. So there's a STEM Lego kit, and that they're trying to figure out ways of making the maker spaces at least the maker space at Smith available so that the kids can use it again. And again, I'm not sure if other schools are having that, doing the same kind of thing. Every school does their own thing, but again, it was really encouraging to be able to have that as an option, right? We're going to move forward. We're trying to make this work. This thing that we had before, we can get it back. So, so you can find your SPSAs, your school plan for student achievement, on the lawndalesd.net/SPSA. And I'll show you where that is on the website. Judith had a good question. So how do I know when is my SSC at Anderson? So now on Anderson's next school site council is on January 26th. And just so you know, although the school site councils it's a group of elected people that are actually sitting on the council, anyone can attend and anyone can ask questions. You're not allowed to vote if you're not on your school site council, but you are allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to be there. And so don't be afraid. In fact, I would say, like, please be active in your school site council. And I'm trying to see if I can find the time for your meeting in Anderson. And you can absolutely message your community liaison. No, it's at 8 a.m. Thanks, Milet. Appreciate it. So, and it's available on Zoom. And they have to post it publicly. At Smith, they post it on Class Dojo, and they put it in the weekly updates. But I'm not sure exactly how things work in Anderson, but I imagine they'd be in the same place. Any other questions on that? Nope. All right, I'm going to show you guys really quickly no problem, Judith. Again, happy to help. So here is the LESD website. So finding various things is hard. I'm not gonna lie. I often am having a hard time. Where is this? I gotta search it. So for your SPSA, you're gonna go home, you're gonna go to departments, and you're gonna go to education services. And then here on the left-hand side, you will see your school plan for student achievement, or your SPSA, among a bunch of other things. And then here in the 2021 SPSAs, you will see all of the new ones for this year that were posted. I think they were voted on last time we spoke. And if I'm going to pull up Smith's because that's the one that I know. Here, you'll see that it was approved on the 24th of this year. And so all of these documents are awful. I'm going to stress this unequivocally, that they are terrible. They are long, they are boring, they are dense, and they are not, they are clear to a point. But I think that the big thing for parents to understand, like if you have the gumption to read through this whole thing, again, that's great. I think that going to your school site councils will help you kind of zone in on certain areas of need. But if you see issues, if you're like, why aren't we doing this? Or what about this? Or what about that? You can kind of look at it. You can see and you can make sure that they're actually doing what they need to be doing. And so an example of this, where is a good example? So all of the schools have something called Mathtosas and ELERTs. These are special teachers that are on their purpose is to help with English development or math development and to support the teachers. That's what they do. But also in your SPSAs and in general, there's money for instructional aids, there's money for additional programs that can benefit, that are supposed to be, again, focused on benefiting those that are really struggling, but again, can apply larger depending on how they structure it. One of the big things that at Smith that we were concerned about last year was that we went down to one instructional aid, and we were like, well, why isn't this money being spent? What happened? Why, what's going on? And since then, they hired one, they increased the hours. Like, you can actually affect a fair amount of change by advocating for families, advocating for your school, by attending or even trying to join these councils. I would say in general, all of the schools, they want people. This is a constant thing. So anyway, your SPSA is here, and you'll see that it's really important for to have parent involvement. Now let me go back. And then, so that's just a quick follow-up on the SPSAs. And here are the dates for your next school site councils for the next year. So Green is going to have one next month, and I'll see if I can try to attend it because I'd like to see how they do stuff. And then the other ones are in January. They meet usually like 4 times a year. And again, on our last one, they ended up having more Title I money, which is like, we need to then allocate this extra money, and where should we allocate it to? Alrighty. And then finally, there's these other 2 pieces that I did want to go over today, or at least get started. One, so DPAC's job, right? We have our job is rather large. We're supposed to give input on the Title I budget, which we're going to go over today. We're supposed to give input on the LCAP, but we also are trying to make sure that we're helping connect families, and that if there's something that's affecting everyone in the district, we need to voice that. And you can voice it individually, or you can voice it here, and we try to make sure that it gets heard by the right people. So to that end, I did want to show you guys what the LCAP looks like, and where it is. And then I'll have Dr. Kane, I'll have Julie go over some Title I budget stuff so that we can discuss it, we can think about it. Again, it's what we're supposed to do. So really quickly, oh goodness, where did I put this? So my students tell me that I have way too many tabs. This is my constant problem. I think I found it. So here, again, it's going to be, the actual LCAP is actually going to be under superintendent. So you have to go to departments, you got to go to superintendent. And then from there, you have to click district goals and plans. And here you go. And these 1, 2, 3, 4 goals. So increasing academic achievement, ensuring access and equity, improving parent and student engagement, and providing 21st century learning environments. Those are the big goals of the district. Everything is kind of coached in how are we achieving these 4 big things. But in the actual plan, so if you were to click this thing here, actually, if I click this thing here, it is a 110-page document, and it is not easy to figure out what's going on. There is a group of people called the LCAP Stakeholder Advisory Committee or Council. I don't know which one or the other. And their job, they meet monthly to discuss making the new plan starting in for the 22-23 school year. Kind of analyzing what's going on and doing that. But although that's what their job is, and they break down this horrible, awful document, that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't, like, we are also supposed to do our job of giving input on this. And one of the things that I do find really confusing about this, if you were to look at it, is 2019, 2020, like, what the heck? This is not the right document. And if you look at all of the things on like bunch of these pages, it's all referring to the 2019-2020 year. So let me move on over. So starting at page 66, because yes, I have in fact gone through it to page 66. There is the plan for the current year. So these are written every few years and then are updated with kind of the new stuff. And that's where it gets a little bit confusing, because you're just like, what is going on? So the new stuff is often later on, depending on when it was written. And this document is, again, very dense. And many props to Letty Varela, who's our Director of Teaching and Learning, for writing this document with her team. But what I think is really important for us in terms of like big takeaways, right, is figuring out and making sure that you all know that your input is really important. In fact, it's not only really important, it's required. They need to have the input of DPAC. Otherwise, they cannot submit it. It is not possible. I had a checklist that it's like there's like a box and they need to check it. So in looking through all of this stuff, which I'm not going to have you read, they put all these charts and this data and all of these things. The one thing I wanted to show you was this. So this is something called Stakeholder Engagement. And this stakeholder engagement is the part that we do. We have to say our part, right? And by looking at it and going, you know what? I don't think they did this thing. I don't think they did this thing, or they're not doing this thing enough. We can make sure that they do it for the next year, that we're holding them accountable for doing the best, doing what we need, what we want. And one of the big things that I'll show you is this summary. So this is the feedback provided by the specific stakeholder groups. They have to detail explicitly what it is that we've said and what they want to do. And so if you look at this one, and you'll see we have a parent and a member of APAC wants recommendations about ethnic studies, curriculum, etc. So in the current, as they're currently writing it, this stuff is going to be addressed and discussed and debated in that other committee. The same thing goes, like if you look, if they want, someone wanted more information about how all this money gets spent on the LCAP, right? And so we need to know how schools get funded. And guess what? At our last DPAC meeting, we went over school funding. And today we'll go over Title I funding. So it's really important that for all of you folks to go through, to speak up, and to let us know. One of the things in DPAC, and the reason why I put my email out there, is that if we don't know, like I really kind of know what's going on in Smith. I wish that, again, if I were on campus, if I were able to volunteer, I would have a better idea of what's going on there. I hear right now the desks are too small. This is the big thing. The T, as my kids say, is they got new desks. Yay. They are too small. They were not adjusted properly, and there's a big mess about it. Everyone is complaining about it, and they're trying to fix it. But I don't know if that's true for any of the other schools, and so it's incumbent, I think, on everybody to talk and discuss so that we can make things better. And giving feedback about what our big plan is, right? Whether it's what do we need to put more funding into this or that? Do we care about gate stuff? What about special education? What about this? What about that? Like, we gotta say stuff. And so I'm really happy that you're all here today and that I'm able to show you these things. And then if you have questions about any of these pieces, again, we can discuss it. And then you can also message people here, message people at your school to be like, what's going on? And that the detailed plan for your school is your SPSA. And then there's this larger overall plan, and that's the LCAP. And we're going to make a difference to make sure that these things happen. And you'll note that for those of you that maybe don't know, a year and a half ago, everyone did not have devices. Back in March of 2020, there were not sufficient, like not every student got devices when they went home. It's not how it went. It was a larger plan that they wanted to have, but that was kickstarted by the pandemic. And it's something that I think the fourth topic of 21st century learning is something that we really like. It got pushed to the forefront. And so for these other areas too, if we want to make sure that we have a more diverse curriculum, we've got to push for it. If we want to make sure that we have programs that make sure that everyone has access, we need to push for it. If we want to make sure that our students are doing well and that, you know what, they're still struggling and they're not getting enough support and maybe we need to put more money in this or that, let's push for it. Or if we want more, we want to use those maker spaces, or if we want more parent engagement and we want to be more on campus, we can push for it too. I know for a fact that some of the other school districts have allowed more volunteers on campus than our district. And so those are things that we can push for, but we have to speak up here at DPAC. We have to speak up at other meetings too, at school board meetings. Let me put the slideshow back up. And so do remember that, like, us parents can have a really large voice in this district. I really do believe they listen to us. And I want to encourage all of you to say things. So to that end, I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to Dr. Kane. And she's going to kind of go over some of our Title I budget stuff, and then we can do some questions and call it a day.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sunny. It's funny, I was reflecting. I was like, Sunny used to introduce me as the lovely Julie Kane, but then Travis Collier stole that moniker. So I don't know what my replacement adjective will be, but I look forward to it in the future. And as much as I agree with you all about wanting to come back in person, I'm hugely grateful for Zoom right now, because if you can't hear it in my voice, I'm homesick today. But I'm able to join you. And in the former world, before we closed schools and went to distance learning, I would have had to call Sunny and say, I'm out, you're on your own, good luck. Tell me how it went. And today I get to join you. So I'm very grateful for that. So Sunny, if you will allow me to share my screen, I'll put up the slides that I have, and we'll talk a little bit more about Title I budgets. So I'm returning to some slides that I shared with you before, but it's worth repeating because funding is complicated. As Sunny showed you, we have to write 100,000-page documents to explain how we understand our funding. But if you look just at the bottom two layers of this cake here, what Sunny was just talking about is the LCAP. That's the local control funding formula base funds and the supplemental and concentration funds. These are our state funds. This is the majority of the funding. If you were able to see the numbers flying by as Sunny scrolled through, we're talking about $50 million, $19 million, millions of dollars that allow us to have schools open and pay teacher salaries and custodian salaries and our instructional aides. All those things come out of these funds. These funds above Title II, 4, 1, and 3 are much smaller. And we're going to focus on Title I today. And again, just to give you a sense of the scope, the state funding is in roughly $70 million if you totaled up all those things that Sunny went through. The Title I funds we receive for our district are $1.5 million. It is a very small pot of money, comparatively speaking, yet it's very important because it's supplemental and it helps us bring extra services to our struggling students. So just to remind you of how do we get these funds? Well, one, we have to be eligible, which means we have to have either low-income students or English learners, and we have to apply for them. We have to say, we would like these, we are eligible, and we promise to use them in the way they are supposed to be used. Excuse me. How do we assign those funds? Title I, based on the number of low-income students. Title III, on the number of English learners we have in our district. And in Title I, which where we will focus our attention today, 85% of that money must go to schools. So of that $1.5 million, 85% goes out to the schools based on the number of students at each site. Your school plans for student achievement govern how you spend those funds, just as Sunny has explained. And then 15% can be held back at the district office to disperse across the district. And at our last meeting, Sunny had asked, could you explain a little bit in more detail? What does that mean? What do you disperse from the district that's different from what schools use to support their students? And so, oops, I'm not very good with animation. So, excuse me, first of all, it's all based on the same input that Sunny was sharing with you, surveys we've done, workshop interest surveys, the discussions we have in DPAC and Dlac. Even if Dr. Hamilton's not sitting here, that information gets transmitted to her, especially now. She can watch this asynchronously like some of our parents do, right? We hear the ideas, we pull them up. I have the unique pleasure of reading all the school plans because I have to help the principals get those ready to bring to board for approval. So we look at what are schools using as their data? What are you identifying as your issues? What are you spending your money on? And then where can the district supplement and support things that go across the district? They're not site specific. For example, if you look here, these are some of the things, the majority of the things that we've used that 15% for this year to support our students. If you look starting at the bottom, kinder iPads, as Sunny mentioned, we went literally overnight to a one-to-one device for all of our students. In that quick turnover, we made use of iPads that we'd had for years. And we just pushed them down to the lowest level possible and kept trying to buy. But as you know, technology makes itself obsolete fairly quickly. And so certain versions of devices are only supported for so long. And we realized that for this year, in order for our K1 and 2 students to have, or for our kinder students to have iPads, we had to buy a whole bunch of new ones. So we thought, okay, we need to go one-to-one. Aside from what parents have asked for, it's just a clear and present must do in our current world. We use the Title I funds for that, where we bought culturally responsive text classroom libraries, because we hear from our parents and from our staff that we don't always have enough resources that reflect the children in our schools. So we're trying to buy more and more resources for that. We gave teachers planning time over the summer because we recognized we were shifting from distance learning back to in-person. That's a big shift. We built out virtual kinder orientations and supported the community liaisons in bringing that out. We set up 6th and 7th grade summer orientations because we realized there were 2 grades worth of kids who had not yet been on the middle school campus coming on for the first time in the fall. We did summer school, 2 weeks worth for many students because we recognized the need for accelerating the learning after spending a whole year at distance learning. Another thing we purchased are the STAR assessments. Now this one is tricky. You could say, well, do STAR assessments necessarily change outcomes for kids? In and of themselves, no, but it's a tool we need in order to measure the progress we're making with the instruction we're giving our students, with the interventions we're doing for our students. We administer that test several times throughout the year to see how our students are doing. We also use them for reclassification purposes. So this serves our English learners as well. And we purchased IXL math licenses for middle school students to support what they were doing at home. So all of these things are, whoops, oh, I love when my calendar does that to me. Changes out, rather inputs or affects how we spend these funds. It's all the feedback we get from parents from all these different venues and in real time, what's happening in the world, right? Like on March 20th, we shut down schools. We didn't have time to ask a lot of questions. We just had to get devices in kids' hands, right? And then over the course of this 1.5 years, 2 years, we're talking, we're learning, we're hearing from you. Yes, Class Dojo. Yes, keep, some of these other tools, the seesaw and the things that we like that help the children with their learning. Some of the other things, maybe not so much. Let's talk about it at the school level. How did that work for you? As Sunny mentioned, you had instructional aides. Some had a lot of vacancies that went on for, a long time because we couldn't get people in. So what were decisions made to use those funds? So it's as the SPSA, one thing I want to point out, both for the LCAP and the SPSA, they're living documents, right? Like the SPSA that you see now posted was approved by your school site councils in September, approved by the board in October, and you might meet in December and make a change. And that's okay, as long as the school site council is in agreement on it and you update it on your form. It keeps growing and changing with circumstances at your site and data that you collect and evidence that you look at to see how the funds you are spending are serving your students. I think that, yes, that was my last slide. So I'm going to stop there because I know we have limited time and I just wanted to get into helping you understand what we do from the district lens that supports what sites are doing. So at this point, are there questions with all of this stuff we've thrown at you this morning?
Well, so there is a question from Joshua. Is the amount dispersed to each site based on the number of students at each site or based on the number of low income / English learners at each site?
Very good question. Thank you. So what we are required to do by law is to rank our schools by need. Our schools are pretty comparable in having, similar levels of low income students. Twain has the smallest percentage, but it's still about 70%. Some of our other sites are as high as 85, 89%. So we rank them and then we distribute them by all students. So we say, okay, Smith has 300 students, they get 300 times, whatever that we divided the number of kids we have by the number of funds we have, and those fundings go to that school. Because Title I you can use when you have what we call school-wide programs, we can use the funds across all students, so we can do it that way. When I get Title III funds at the district level, those are distributed by the number of English learners at your site, not by the number of the full population. So that's the difference there.
And then we had talked about, and I don't think it was on there, but on the last year when we had Title I funds, or the year before that, perhaps, there was like PSAT tests for 8th grade students. That isn't on the list anymore. And part of that, right, has to do with the fact that SATs, I mean, one, couldn't really administer them last year.
Right.
But two, that with the UCs and the CSUs moving away from and no longer requiring SATs or PSATs for 8th grade students might not be the best use of those funds, right?
Correct.
So there are, again, ways that we could look at this list that we have this year, and especially towards the end of the year, right? If we're like, you know what, maybe we can spend some more money on this, or we really like how the teachers got extra time to be able to prep, or now not as much money is going to need to be allocated to not as much money necessarily needs to be allocated to the 6th and 7th grade students, since really it's going to be back to just the 6th graders. So
exactly, it's changed. We are always adapting to our circumstances, and we've had a real crash course in big changes in our circumstances in these last couple of years. It used to be tweak a little here, tweak a little there. Now each year is like a whole different experience.
absolutely.
So input is important. Real time input is important.
Well, does anyone else have any questions for the good. I need
Put you
a good
on the
epithet.
spot, didn't I?
I really got it. I should have been thinking about it while you were speaking. How about
Say okay.
the unbeatable Dr. Julie Kane, seeing as the sickness can't keep you away from this meeting?
I'll take it. Thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Not seeing any, I mean, that's fine. And then I am going to just move us forward then. Couple things. So school board meeting is, well, not this Thursday, I think next Thursday. No. Thursday after that. So I think in like 1, 2, 3 weeks. It's on the 14th.
You know what's confusing about it, Sunny, is this is a weird one. It's on a Tuesday. It's usually on a Thursday, so that's why it throws you off. Yeah, it's 2 weeks from yesterday.
2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I was like, this is not the right day. I had to triple check it like 4 times before putting it on the slide. And school board meetings are in person, but also available on YouTube. And you know what's great about watching them on YouTube, I'm going to tell you all right now, if you watch it after the fact, is you can watch it at 2 times the speed, and that 3-hour meeting turns into an hour and a half, and it's great. And if you want to make a comment, so at school board meetings, you have to go in person, and I will give you my personal opinion that it stinks. I haven't done it yet, but I intend to, and I'm not looking forward to it. So you do, if you want to speak at school board, you have to go in person. And then and that these guys are kind of they're the superintendent's boss. So collectively they can also affect change in a large way if you speak to them directly. So we just have, I think, just a couple minutes left. Was there anyone that had any questions, comments, concerns, kind of just on the district level that were like, oh, you know what, we should really tackle this? Well, I had someone telling me like, oh man, parking stinks. Yes, it does. But we can definitely, we can try to see what other avenues there are to solve that. But does anyone want to bring anything up today? Going once, going twice. All right, that's it then. So, so just so you all know, we have a few different meetings for a couple of our other district-wide groups. There is our APAC, no, sorry, I take that back. Our DLAC meeting, which is on December 8th. Be there so that Milet can have a crowd too. And then I think that's a Wednesday, not, oh gosh, it's in a week. It's in, yeah, next week. And then the Thursday after the board meeting, so in 2 weeks plus a day, we have our APAC meeting. That's at 5 p.m. Usually, no, 6 p.m., 5 p.m. I feel like it's at 5 p.m. And that's that's again another district-wide meeting that you absolutely should go to. And then you will see us back at January 26th, which is another Wednesday. And hopefully I'll have an update for you. I intend to be getting an update on what things are going to look like for parents to be able to volunteer by next week, by that next meeting. Sorry, 5:15 to 6:45. I take it back to the APAC meeting. Thank you, Jocelyn. And hopefully we'll also go over a few other things. I've got some other speakers that I think might come and talk to us about. So that's really it. Michael, did you have a question?
Yes. I wanted to, I joined late, so I don't know if you mentioned the family engagement survey that the district sent out. It sort of originated in the APAC group, but it went district-wide, and I know the deadline was extended, but those surveys are really, really important. So I just wanted to encourage, I don't know if people have been responding, but I just wanted to encourage everyone to respond to them because it's your voice to the district about not only your experience, but your students' experience. And it'll be very informative for the district to maybe make some changes or, do more of what's working.
Yep.
So I just want to mention that.
Yeah, and that's absolutely in the LCAP. They have those surveys in there. So I didn't realize the deadline was extended.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, last week Friday. Whew, good thing I got that thing in. So if you haven't, again, you should do it. Absolutely. So thank you all. And